We are going to get started. The purpose of today's finance hearing is to review the City of Columbus Consolidated Action Plan for fiscal year 2019. I want to welcome Council President Pro Tem Michael Stinziano and Councilmember Emmanuel Remy. The plan combines the application and planning process for a group of Federal Housing and Urban Development, or HUD, grants into a single document. The grants covered are the Community Development Block Grant, the Home Investment Partnerships, the Emergency Solutions Grant, and Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS. As a condition of receiving these funds, the city is required to submit a 5-year consolidated plan with an annual plan to allocate funding submitted in each of the program years. The 2019 action plan is the 5th and final year of our 5-year plan. These dollars represent important investments in Columbus neighborhoods that focus on the housing, development, and infrastructure needs of low and moderate income households. An important component of allocating these dollars is public feedback. In addition to any public comment we receive at this hearing, I encourage all Columbus residents to submit their neighborhood development priorities to my office via email or phone call. We will first hear an overview from Finance and Management Deputy Director Dan Giangardella before then moving into presentations from departments responsible for administering these federal grant programs. So are there any comments from my colleagues before I kick things over? So with that, I will turn the mic over to Deputy Director Giangardella.
Thank you, Finance Chair Brown, President Pro Tem Stinziano, members of Council. First, I want to thank you for allowing us to discuss the overview this evening of the action plan, along with my colleague departments here. We'll provide a general overview, briefly discuss our administrative oversight that we do in grants management, and then each of the departments will talk about their specific projects and initiatives. City of Columbus is what we refer to as an entitlement jurisdiction, since we receive federal funds from the Housing and Urban Development, otherwise known as HUD, to support a number of local projects and initiatives related to neighborhoods and community activities. The most recent consolidated plan, I think Chair Brown, you alluded to, was for the years 2015 and 19, was developed with input from residents and neighborhood organizations and other community representatives back in 2015. It is a collaborative effort in which the community identifies housing, homeless, and community development needs. As a condition of receiving these funds, the City of Columbus is required by HUD to submit a 5-year consolidated plan which outlines the city's housing and community development needs and priorities. In 2014, that plan was developed, and tonight we'll discuss the 2019 action plan, which in effect is our budget for these 4 grant areas for 2019. As you stated, this is the 5th and final year of that plan, and we'll obviously next year conduct a process where we develop the consolidated plan for 2020 through 2024. These funds will address areas like affordable housing, housing for special needs population, community economic development, health, recreational, and social service initiatives, and an early learning center. There are 4 components or 4 grants that make up the plan. Of course, the CDBG, or the Community Development Block Grant funds, the Home Investment Partnership Program, the Emergency Shelter Grant, sometimes known as ESG, and then the Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS, sometimes known as HOPWA. For these 4 grant areas, the city must submit a yearly application to HUD. This process is known, or this application is known as the action plan. So if I say action plan or plan, essentially we're talking the same thing. The 2019 proposed action plan outlines our resources, the yearly budget for each of those grant areas, as well as a description of the proposed programs and activities we hope to conduct. It's approximately $32 million, a portion of which is carryover funds from this year, from 2018. Keep in mind, these are estimates of what we might receive in grant funds, as the federal government typically doesn't release their overall figures for the jurisdictions, usually May, June of 2019 in this case. So these are projections, and then we usually receive our final numbers sometime May or June next year. And if those numbers are drastically different than what we have in the plan, then we would come back to council, I think as we did this year as well, and amend the plan. And I think if I recall, this year in 2018, we got something like an additional almost $2 million as a result of the federal government action. This proposed plan provides programs in 5 departments: development, neighborhoods, recreation, parks, education, and health. The Finance and Management Department is the monitoring and reporting agency. We help to coordinate information, obviously, between the city and HUD. As I said, these programs involve housing, community and economic development, social services, recreational improvements, early learning, and planning activities. I will specifically address our portion of this, and then the departments will talk about sort of the narrative for each of those particular grant areas. First is the Community Development Block Grant, which is the largest of the 4 grants, and the proposed budget for 2019 is approximately $19 million. The purpose of this program is to build equitable neighborhoods by addressing housing, economic development, and infrastructure needs. Besides these grant dollars, the balance of the CDBG program is funded through program income and prior year carryover funds. These monies are designed to support programs that assist low to moderate income residents, eliminate slum and blighted conditions within the city. These grant funds are administered through several departments: development, finance and management, neighborhoods, and recreation and parks. The second of the grants is called the Home Investment Partnership, sometimes referred to that just as the Home Grant. That budget is about $11.4 million. These grants are administered through the Department of Development and are used primarily to increase home ownership opportunities and the preservation and production of affordable rental housing for economically eligible communities. The third grant area is the Emergency Solutions Grant, otherwise known as ESG. That is also administered by the Department of Development. This budget is about $580,000, which is roughly the same level as this year. These funds are used to coordinate and stabilize the emergency shelter programs for people who need immediate housing but not have the economic means to secure a place to live. The fourth of the programs is the Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS, sometimes known as HOPWA. This program is roughly $1 million, again, similar to what we had this year in 2018. This grant is administered by Columbus Public Health and is used to address the housing needs of low-income persons infected with HIV/AIDS and their families within the 8-county Columbus area. I'll now speak a little bit about the public process that we go through that we're required to by HUD. As part of receiving these grant awards each year, there is input opportunity for the public. That process allows the public and any stakeholders an opportunity to share concerns or suggest any future projects. We began our 30-day public notice period on October 6, 2018, and this public notice is to inform the public of the plan for this year, and then any citizen participation, and hopefully we might receive some comments on that. This hearing, of course, tonight is part of that notification process, and any public comments concerning the consolidated plan must be received by Thursday, November 8th of 2018. Additional information I'll have at the end here is a contact for our office, along with an email address and a phone number if individuals would like to contact us directly. We do have also a couple hard copies here this evening of not only the action plan, but the consolidated plan from 15 to 19. And that information also is posted on the city website underneath the Finance and Management Division. The proposed consolidated plan for 2019 supports a budget strength of approximately 22 full-time and 75 part-time positions. Those are primarily in the CDBG portion of the plan. Most of those part-time employees are associated with the Recreation and Parks Department. As far as financial management and our responsibility to administer these four areas, we have a budget staff of 3 full-time people, which involves about $345,000. That staff is responsible for the budget development, the managing of financial resources, regulatory compliance, any HUD reporting, and the monitoring. For 2019, the budget and finance and management, and this is all in CDBG funds, also includes funding for the fair housing services at a cost of roughly $105,000. In addition, and this would be in conjunction with Franklin County, the grant staff will begin working on the next 5-year consolidated planning process for 2020-2024. We will be out for a proposal for a consultant. The estimated dollars budget for that are about $140,000. And that process will probably start yet before the end of this year when we do our proposal, request for proposals, and we will hopefully enter into contract sometime the first quarter next year. And that consultant works with stakeholders, works with social service agencies in the community to gather input and information for us that helps us develop our next 5-year planning process. Finally, I would like to thank the other departments here this evening that helped us put this plan together. And I also like to thank the 3 members of our staff in our grants management section, Jordan Fraze, Heather Donahoe, and especially Carolyn Thurman, who's our grant coordinator, that helps pull all this together. That concludes my briefing. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have. And as I said earlier, at the end of this, I think we have a slide for additional contact information for our office for those that would wish to provide us input or have questions about the process. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy Director. Questions for my colleagues? Okay. You were thorough. Thank you. So next, I'd like to move to the Fiscal Manager of Department of Neighborhoods, Todd Diefendorfer.
Hi, good evening, Chair Brown, members of council. Thanks for the opportunity to be here and talk about the work that we're doing in the Department of Neighborhoods. I'm Julia Carter's understudy, Deputy Director of the department, so glad to be here. All good. You know, it's when last-minute changes happen. So I'm also the guinea pig with the PowerPoint, so we'll see how it goes here for everybody. You just advance it one. Great, thank you. So the work of the Department of Neighborhoods, we're focused on using CDBG dollars to advance investments that will help to, help to address social determinants of safety in South Linden, in the South Side, and on the Hilltop. Oh, okay, very good. Back. Our work is aligned with the Comprehensive Neighborhood Safety Strategy, and the Neighborhood Crisis Response is an element of the safety strategy where our efforts are focused. And we're doing these things in collaboration with other departments. There we go. The safety strategy is, just to point out, the safety strategy is being advanced across the city through investments beyond those outlined in my presentation today and utilizing resources beyond CDBG. Some examples are illustrated on the slide here. These include work to combat illegal dumping and providing after-school opportunities for young people. As a way to kind of put this in context, the work we're doing with the Neighborhood Crisis Response, there are 8 initiatives that are directly aligned with the Comprehensive Neighborhood Safety Strategy. Public safety, health, recreation and parks all have leadership roles along with neighborhoods on different elements in the strategy. The investments that we're making here in neighborhoods as part of the Neighborhood Crisis Response are being informed by early learning coming from other elements of the overall strategy. Our work that we're doing here really emphasizes walkability and increased visibility. We want to create greater connection between neighbors and reduce environmental factors that lead some to believe criminal activity can go unnoticed. With your support, the Department of Neighborhoods will invest $1.7 million to address sidewalk gaps in South Linden. These locations are aligned with recommendations that were made in the Safe Route to Schools program. We also are focused on $150,000 for a new program that's going to install porch lights working with development's chores program and other possible sub-recipients, will provide homeowners the opportunity to have dusk-to-dawn porch light installed on their home. This will enhance visibility in front yards and on sidewalks. We're also developing a partnership with the AEP that will provide homeowners with a supply of high-efficiency light bulbs so they can help to maintain that going forward. Working with public utilities, we propose investing $350,000 or $325,000 to enhance street lighting. And this program will add additional lights and position them in a way that will increase lighting on sidewalks and increase pedestrian safety. These programs are all starting in South Linden. So what we've outlined here would be work in South Linden, and then we'll be working to expand these to the Hilltop and the South Side over the coming year. And we definitely appreciate the partnership with service, utilities, and development to implement all of these programs. So with that, glad to take any questions.
Chair of the Department of Neighborhoods,
Yes.
Councilmember.
Thank you,
Right.
Madam Chair. Just a quick question, how neighborhoods will have input on those projects, how they can advocate or discuss through either finance or directly with Department of Neighborhoods, the best approach that they can engage with you all of saying this would be a priority within those neighborhoods you highlighted.
So as I mentioned earlier, in terms of the different aspects of the neighborhood safety strategy, there is an aspect of this creating neighborhood safety committees, and that's one place working with the local area commissions to gain input on the things that people see from their everyday lives as being important, and that's an important thing that's informing our work and what we're doing. So glad to take letters, comment otherwise, but that's one way that we're definitely doing that.
Okay, thank you so much, Deputy Director.
Thank you.
Next, we will move to the Recreation and Parks Department. Steve Highland, Fiscal Manager.
Thank you. Good evening. Oops. Clicker problem. Nope, it's not just you. Clicker problem, sorry. Should I just proceed reading without the,
We can
oh, there we go.
try to,
Recreation and Parks 2019 CDBG budget used for operation is $865,200. That's comprised of staffing of $802,000, supplies $14,000, services of $47,000, and refunds of $1,000. It also has 5 full-time employees and 79 part-time employees. The program is comprised of 3 areas. The first is the Capital Kids After School program. That portion is $647,000. That's where the 5 full-time staff they work out of Feddersen Recreation Center, Marion Franklin Recreation Center, Sullivan Gardens, and Beatty Recreation Center. Each site serves 30 to 35 children in grades kindergarten to 5th each day and operates a full day camp during the spring break and an 8-week summer program. We also have a Columbus Rec and Parks Department fitness camp that is $107,000 of this CDBG funding. It serves with part-time staff costs, supplies, and services. The locations served for the fitness camps are at Feddersen, Thompson, Howard, and Blackburn. It's a 9-week summer camp offered to income-eligible participants aged 6 to 14 and serves approximately 300 children. Recreation Center part-time staffing is $109,000. The locations served are Linden Recreation Center, Milo Grogan Recreation Center, and Sullivan Gardens. Finally, this year we have $1 million of CDBG in the capital budget. This is going to be part of a major renovation to the Linden Recreation Center. This $1 million will be for the Linden Park improvements. It's to improve a 19.5-acre park. It's going to be completely renovated to include new fishing pond, performance space, loop walks, play areas, a spray ground, sports courts, parking, lighting, and various new landscape. This is all part of the total site renovations that are $28 million of improvements, including the recreation center itself. That is our budget for recreation and parks, if you have any questions.
Are there any questions from my colleagues? Okay, thank you so much. Seeing none, I will move on to the Assistant Director of the Department of Education, Matt Smido.
Chair Brown, President Harden, members of council, thank you for the opportunity to testify this evening on education's part of the Consolidated Action Plan for 2019. As you know, the mayor's goal is that every 4-year-old in Columbus has access to a high-quality pre-K education. Since a little brown-nosing doesn't hurt, we'd like to thank members of council for all of their support, especially our chair, Chair Brown. In some data that we provided to the mayor that he was reviewing, in 2017, he noticed that there are far fewer children enrolled in high-quality pre-K in the Hilltop than anywhere else in the city. In the 3 zip codes that make up the greater Hilltop area, there are 2,000 4-year-olds. And at the time, only 152 were engaged in community-based quality pre-K. So in his 2017 State of the City address, is it 18, sorry, State of the City address, no, 17. The mayor announced the creation of the Hilltop Early Childhood Partnership with the goal of doubling the number of children enrolled in high-quality pre-K in the Hilltop by 2020. He charged the Department of Education to do this work. We spent a good bit of 2017 engaging the public on this work, grassroots efforts, one-on-one meetings. We then seeded a partnership made up of 19 members, all organic to the Hilltop. We had 5 meetings, including 2 community meetings. And at the end, the partnership made a series of recommendations. One of them was to create a new facility in the Hilltop to increase capacity for pre-K. We started looking for areas in which to develop this new center. The mayor brought in an investor for this project, Doug Bohr, CEO of Bohr. We gave him certain locations that he could look at and make some recommendations. He really liked this piece of property here off of Broad Street and Highland and Clarendon Avenue. Up to the north is Highland Elementary School and south is the J. Ashburn Center. We look at that spot right there as the possible location of this facility. We recently completed an MOU with Columbus City Schools because that property is currently owned by Columbus City Schools. This agreement will allow us to work towards a further agreement to either purchase that land or swap it out for something. We're not sure yet. The timeline for this is we want to have, in the fall of 18, we're going to start doing our environmental review on the property and begin the design work with a goal of beginning construction in the fall of 2019. So for our part of this, for the design work and the land acquisition, we have $4 million that we are requesting as part of this budget. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This is a very exciting project, and I know that it's been a lot of hard work on the part of the department with the review team and the project group in the Hilltop. So this is exciting and a pretty ambitious timeline too, which I'm glad to see because every day there's another 4-year-old turning 5. I don't know if quite every day in our city, but pretty close to it. Any questions from my colleagues about the Hilltop Pre-K? All right, so we will move into the department with probably the most to say on these funds, the Department of Development. Deputy Director Rory Guinness, if you can walk us through the Development Department's goals and part of the plan.
Thank you, President Harden, Chair Brown, and members of council for the opportunity to present the Department of Development portion of the 2019 Action Plan. There. The sum total of the Department of Development's 2019 Community Development Block Grant, Home Investments Partnership Program, and Emergency Solutions Grant budgets for the Department of Development is approximately $11.8 million. The department's projected CDBG budget for 2019 is $6.6 million. The department's projected home budget for 2019 is $4.5 million. The department's projected ESG budget for 2019 is $580,000. In 2019, CDBG funding will support economic development activities, home funding will support housing activities, and ESG funding will support social service activities. The 2019 CDBG budget allows the Department of Development to focus its efforts on economic development and neighborhood improvements, addressing both the department's core missions and consolidated plan priorities. Neighborhood-based businesses are vital to the health and well-being of our neighborhoods and communities. Support of these activities generates entrepreneurship and jobs. We plan to use approximately $591,000 to fund these efforts. Of that, $143,000 will provide support to businesses within the city's neighborhood commercial revitalization areas. $372,000 to support neighborhood business organizations in the NCR areas. $376,000 to support small business and entrepreneurship development. In addition to our small business support, $4.7 million will be spent on 2 infrastructure projects. The first is $3.5 million in funding will improve pedestrian access on Parsons Avenue. This includes the construction of new sidewalks with lighting and streetscape improvements to make the area more pedestrian friendly. The project will also perform street repaving to improve access to senior housing and transitional housing facilities that are being built along Parsons Avenue. The next project is $1.2 million in funding for the installation of new street lighting along Cleveland Avenue between Chittenden and Hudson. The project is phase 1 of a larger project to improve pedestrian safety by installing approximately 100 light fixtures along the street. Additional programs include $63,000 for relocation services, $848,000 in code enforcement activities to include educating landlords, tenants, and citizens on safe and sanitary living environments, $60,000 for homebuyer counseling, $80,000 for loan servicing, and $309,000 for administrative support to help carry out home-related activities. Home funds are designed to meet the needs and address the affordable housing crisis by preserving and expanding housing options to the public in an effort to increase home ownership opportunities, provide affordable rental housing in the city, and provide gap financing to construct new or rehabilitate existing housing stock. Our 2019 budget includes $1.7 million for gap financing, $940,000 to assist with the construction of new single-family homes, $225,000 for down payment assistance programs, $325,000 to provide rental assistance to eligible individuals, $205,000 for Community Housing Development Organization operating support, $615,000 for Chodo set-aside projects, $460,000 will assist in the administration costs to carry out these grant activities. That concludes our presentation. I would also like to thank my colleagues who spent a lot of time on this effort, Bill Webster, Hannah Reed, Alex Cofield, and Elizabeth Baxter for helping put together our presentation day and for delivering these great programs to our citizens.
Great, thank you so much. I know there's a lot of important work that development does relating to these grants. I do have a question and want my colleagues to have an opportunity to ask questions. I also want to acknowledge that several agenda items ago, Council President Harden joined us. I meant to acknowledge that. Deputy Director McGinnis, you highlighted the $591,000 in small business support and neighborhood-based business support. Could you talk about what that looks like? I know that the department has some efforts in sort of revamping the way the revolving loan fund for small business support is being used, and I'd like to understand the plan for this year with the $591,000.
Sure. At the end of 2017, we began a fundamental shift in how we approached our small business and entrepreneurship assistance programs. We rebranded the former Office of Financial Assistance to the Office of Small Business and Entrepreneur Development. We launched the Small Business and Entrepreneur Support Pilot Program designed to better serve current and future needs of the small business community by creating additional opportunities to introduce and expand market programs and services to directly benefit the local entrepreneurial ecosystem. So we are working with Rev1, who we've worked with in the past, your management team, and the Columbus State Small Business Development Center. We also looked at design and implement Phase 2 of this program in 2019. Phase 2 is going to focus more on getting small businesses and entrepreneurs to learn more about the resources that are available in our community. And then we're also in the process of hiring a consultant to develop a comprehensive small business agenda, policy framework, and action plan, and hope to implement that plan in 2019.
So the 591,000, is that going to directly help small businesses, or is that going to the sort of more infrastructure-based things that you outlined, like Rev 1 and et cetera?
So that 591,000 would be going to assist the small businesses, but it would be more through those entities that exist that we're giving those dollars through our pilot programs.
Okay.
So it's not us directly lending or giving direct financial assistance of 591,000, but it would be towards those programs.
Okay, got it.
But that
Question?
we're also, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
we're
no,
also
please.
assisting small businesses through the NCR grant proposals that we have as well.
Okay. Question?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Director. So just following up on Chair Brown's questioning around the 591, around the revolving loan. For clarity, how much is in the revolving loan for small businesses right now? And the 591 that we're talking about here does not directly go into supplement that per se. Is that am I understanding that correctly?
Council President, members of council, the revolving loan program is a program that we have put a hold on for that program. Part of that program, the reason for putting a hold on that program is that the private lending community has basically become much more favorable to small business lending than it has in the past. And so as a result of that, we felt that our resources were better used in supporting more entrepreneurship-related activities to small businesses.
Okay. And for the NCR, a lot of these changes happened last year when I was chair of the Small Business Committee, and since then, folks come up and ask about this transition period from administering the loans to taking this pause. And so just wanted you to speak more about what's next and when folks can expect that. It sounds like there is some restructuring that will happen as we roll out 2019.
Sure.
The department has been working on the NCR redesign of how we were going to do the NCR program. And I was wondering where we were in the progress with that.
Council President Hart and members of council, we're making good progress there. I mentioned before that we had gone through an RFP process earlier this year to select a consultant that's going to help us redesign our small business and entrepreneurship programs. We have selected a consultant for that, and we are beginning contract negotiations with that consultant. Hope to have them on board very soon here and get them to work right away. We view this as a really important component of our department and a key component to moving our community forward.
Sorry, one more follow-up on the revolving loan fund. One of the things, and I understand the department had factors, saw a changing sort of private lending market and made the best decision that they could involving all of those influences. However, one thing that was good about our participation in having a revolving loan fund is that we had the ability to target businesses that may not be as attractive to private sector lenders, so specifically minority-owned businesses and women-owned businesses. And I know that continues to be a priority of the department. So can you explain how we're continuing to fulfill that objective, even though we don't have this targeting ability with the revolving loan funds?
Chair Brown, President Harden, members of council, we are still extremely committed to helping small minority businesses. Despite there not being a revolving loan program right now, we are still very much engaged with lots of organizations that do provide more loans in that regard. Right now, we are not hearing from small minority businesses that are saying to us, we can't get a loan because the private lending industry won't lend to us because of our potentially riskier status because we're a smaller company. So we just haven't heard from companies in the past year that are saying we can't operate, we can't be successful now that you guys aren't running a small business revolving loan program. We think that by changing our investment strategy a little bit more, we're going to have a much greater impact for small and minority businesses than we have in the past. We think that the investments that we're going to be making towards encouraging entrepreneurship will be more impactful than what we've had in the past.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you again, Chair, and thank you, Director. As we go through these changes, I would just ask that the administration work with council. This is one of the areas that, as council members are out in the community, we get asked a lot about our small business development strategy. And in this restructuring period, that has only increased. And so we would like to be really engaged in what the next looks like. And as we figure out how we, what comes next out of or after the revolving loan, and how, to Chair Brown's point, how we're serving those communities specifically, but how we're meeting specific directives. We would like to be very engaged, I would say.
President Harden, Chair Brown, members of council, I can assure you that we will very much engage council in this effort and that we're going to have a program that is going to be as impactful as any program that we've done in the past and even more so.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Councilmember Remy.
Thank you very much. Director, we were talking about, there was a slide in there relating to housing, and obviously I was with the Community Shelter Board yesterday. One of the things that they highlight is the ever-growing rent rates around the community. Just this morning, the Dispatch had an article in there about that and how it's affecting our low-income families. Can you talk a little bit about how development's going to use these funds for housing, affordable housing, and how many units that you anticipate using some of these funds will provide and how soon they'll come online?
Councilmember Remy, President Harden, members of council, we anticipate that we'll complete 577 units of affordable housing in 2019. We believe that there's some of the three biggest projects that you'll probably see in 19. There's a project called the Livingston. This would be 45 senior affordable housing units developed by Woda Cooper Development. It's located at 1573 East Livingston Avenue. Second project is Parsons Village 2. This is a 60-unit affordable housing project by NRP Group in partnership with Community Development for All People, located on Parsons Avenue. And then the Healthy Rental Homes 2, which is 11 rehabilitation scattered site family units on the south side of Columbus, using the Home Chodo set-aside funds by Community Development for All People and the Healthy Neighborhoods, Healthy Families Realty Collaborative. So those are three of the projects we anticipate getting completed. And in addition to those 577 units of affordable housing, we're also going to be using we'll probably have about another 900 homes that are going to be rehabilitated or repaired through our other programs in housing.
over the next, within the next 12 months, if we find that we need some more money transferred into rental assistance, for instance, what would be the process for us to come back and talk with you about that? And just talk about the process of amending the plan.
Councilmember Remy, President Harden, members of council, if we feel that we're going to need more resources, we would definitely be asking the Department of Finance and Management and the Mayor's Office to let them know that we believe that we have a greater need than we have budgeted. And through that process, we would then submit legislation for council's consideration and hopefully approval.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions for Deputy Director McGinnis? All right, we will move on to our last department presentation. Audrey Regan, or is it Regan or Regan?
Regan.
Regan. Audrey Regan, who's the Director of the Sexual Health Promotion at Columbus Public Health.
All right, thank you very much for this opportunity, Chair Brown, President Harden, President Pro Tem Cinziano, Councilman. Again, I'm Audrey Regan with Columbus Public Health, and I really appreciate the opportunity to update you on the HOPWA program. HOPWA is one of the key elements to our HIV prevention strategy. Through HOPWA, we would work to provide housing assistance and support services to reduce the risk of homelessness and increase access to appropriate health care for people living with HIV. And through appropriate management of HIV, the chances of spreading the infection are significantly reduced and almost eliminated. In order to be eligible for the HOPWA program, you have to have an HIV or AIDS diagnosis. The household should be earning 80% or less of the area median income, and you do need to reside in the 8 counties of central Ohio. So that's Franklin County, our contiguous counties, as well as Morrow to the north. The HOPWA program here in Central Ohio provides 3 essential services. The first is tenant-based rental assistance, which is a monthly rental subsidy that stays with the client as they live in the housing of their choice. We also provide short-term mortgage, rental, and utility assistance through STRUMU, which is provided on an as-needed emergency basis in the short term. And perhaps most importantly, these services are supported with case managers who can work to help do education for the client, help them find adequate housing, but also look for other community resources that we can utilize, such as HEAP, Section 8, Shelter Plus Care, a lot of the other programs that we've already spoken about. These services are provided in partnership with community partners such as Equitas Health and Lancaster Fairfield Community Action Agency. And individuals, people living with HIV, can access these services through their case manager. Each person meets with their case manager a minimum of 2 times a year, where there's a thorough psychosocial assessment that is completed. Anyone who's identified as having a housing challenge is automatically referred to either the HOPWA program or the Ryan White Housing Program. And I'm available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Any questions for Director Regan? All right. Do you, Deputy Director Giangardella, do you want to add anything as we're summing up here?
Thank you, President Harden, members of council, Chair Brown. Just the slide up now is our contact information. Again, the plan is on our website under City of Columbus Finance and Management. And Carolyn Thurman, our grants manager, has graciously allowed her direct number and email address to be available. So anyone that would have questions, comments, we welcome those. And obviously, we would appreciate getting those by November 8, 2018, so that we can be timely in our response to HUD. So thank you very much, and we appreciate council entertaining us tonight so that we can present this information to you, and we look forward to eventual passage of that ordinance in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Director. And I just want to remind folks that there will be a process for our next 5-year plan, a full process of community engagement, and that will be coming up. It'll occur next year, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So please be on the lookout for that. In closing, is there any other remarks or questions from my colleagues? Okay. Well, thank you to all the departments for being here. Thank you especially to the Finance Department for their ongoing work to coordinate this. And I want to shout out Carolyn Thurman, available at 614-645-8069. But I do want to thank you, Ms. Thurman, for your hard work on these programs and on making sure that we are stewarding good dollars after good program. If there are any questions, you can also, of course, contact your council members, and we will help to make sure it lands in the right place with the folks in finance or the appropriate departments. Thank you again, everyone, for being here, and this concludes our hearing.